Hi everyone, good afternoon. Welcome to our November webinar, Make Invoice Processing Easier. See a powerful invoice processing solution with pre-built workflows of everyday processes. My name is Nicole Schmeida, Marketing Specialist, and I'll be moderating today's session. The webinar today will be presented by Ann Velitis, Senior Consultant at Keypoint Intelligence, and David Reiner, Regional Sales Director here at DocuWare. Ann will go over some data she has on how AP departments are operating today and recommendations and benefits of automating AP processes. Then Dave will jump into a live demo of the DocuWare for invoicing processing solution, and then at the end we'll open it up for Q&A. Thank you again for joining us, and now I'll pass it off to Ann.
Thank you, Nicole. I am Ann Velitis, and I'm very fortunate to be here today with DocuWare and be given this opportunity to share some of our research, some of our insights into the studies and analyses that we conduct. I am responsible for the content and image scanning, vertical market, and solutions practice areas, and I've been with Keypoint Intelligence for about 12 years now. So Keypoint is a product of a merger. So a few years ago, Buyers Laboratory and InfoTrends came together, and we are now Keypoint Intelligence. We are a worldwide organization with coverage in key areas around the globe, which allows us the ability to study and examine strategic geographies in multiple product categories, such as production print, solutions, consumer imaging, and what we're going to talk about today, which is under a category of office technology for us. So vertical markets have been a strategic focus area for us for many years now, and we followed vendors and providers as they pivot and look to be more targeted towards specific vertical markets and the processes which honestly drive your business. So along with the specific vertical markets, we also studied common horizontal business processes, such as accounting. And our mission was to map out and understand just how certain items within each of the categories are handled and how often they're handled, and how they're being processed, whether it's paper or electronic, and we'll see that in a few minutes. But the mission for us was to see where there may be gaps and areas of opportunity to automate business processes. So accounting, as you all know, provides for the recording of financial transactions within an organization. It is an important critical function within any company, regardless of the type or the size, really is the heartbeat of the company. The size and the shape of the functional department can certainly vary widely, but foundationally, it's certainly crucial to any organization. So for us, we looked at these accounting workflows and we studied them. Today we're going to be focused mainly on accounts payable, but we did look at the continuum of areas within the accounting department to kind of get a full picture. So let's just jump in and start talking about some of the research results that Keypoint has as it relates to accounting and invoice processing. So we can see here from the top that items such as receipts are primarily paper-based or a combination of paper and electronic. And as we move down the chart, we're also seeing that paper-based or a combination of paper and electronic is the basis for performing many of these tasks. So the green area represents electronic documents as used mainly to handle tasks. And the takeaway really from this chart is that yellow area right in the middle, which is representing a large portion. And that's a combination of paper and electronic. So you're thinking about your own processes and understanding how they're performed. Think about where you might fall into this and where some of your criteria for handling some of these processes, whether it's paper or electronic. And as we go forward, you'll see how we're going to look at some of that data. In this chart, we're looking at paper-based documents and how they're stored for their accounts payable processes. So to see that paper is used within the processes, it's important to understand how the paper is stored. So more than 25% were said to scan the accounts payable documents and store them in their accounting management system. And 20% of the documents actually remain in paper form. and are stored in file folders on site. So the others represent a mix of maintaining hard copy and inputting into the system as well. So just kind of an overview of how some of these documents are being stored within the accounting department. So we also wanted to understand how documents are typically submitted to people and other departments. And we can see here that email is a very often used method, in addition to a little bit of faxing. So some submission is handled through the electronic system itself. That was in the case of the vendor, they're being submitted or shared through the mail. And we do know that when it comes to sharing documents with outside entities like a vendor, often paper is that most common denominator, and it's really the easiest way to communicate. So we understand why some of this is driven this way and why these responses are like this. So it's another area where we're looking at understanding where the opportunity is possibly to automate some of that task and submission. But in each case, we wanted to understand how respondents viewed the level of automation for each of the processes that we handled, that they handled. So we can see here from the left to the right that many items are seen as very manual or manual. So communications and delivery confirmations and invoices sent by vendors and product managers to accounting departments were all seen as very manual to manual. So another area to keep in mind, understand while we're going through this, maybe where you fit and where your own organization kind of hones in on some of this. So for respondents who felt they have highly automated processes, we wanted to understand what some of the benefits are for this. So time we see as a major factor, and we see that time gained has impacted things like turnarounds of invoices and improvements of payments to vendors. And in addition, the value of these, redistributing resources so they can focus on other tasks was also highly cited as well. So just some of these gaps, and people are validating some of the things that we wanted to understand with our research. In mentioning time, we did also look to quantify the time and resource of intensiveness to specific tasks and processes. So each item had a good level of time and resource intensiveness attached to it. So it's no wonder when we ask those who felt it was automated that time savings was also mentioned. So let's summarize some of the business objectives relating to the accounted process. So the accuracy of data, privacy, and the integrity of the data, all while ensuring customer and client satisfaction, very important. So automation can improve key areas and provide multiple benefits, as we saw when we asked, improve processing time, increase productivity amongst employees, and garnering just more positive results. And of course, a top element of improved efficiency would be improved time to turnover, and rapid turnover often results in cost benefits. Automation is not without its challenges, though, and there are barriers that exist in many organizations. And we've highlighted the continued use of paper, whether it's for collecting and exchanging information, for approvals, the outright complexity of certain internal processes, or working with vendors that have little technology to help them be more flexible and agile. So we can say with our research that companies are willing to affect technology to help achieve these goals and are likely setting themselves up to capitalize on some of this. So as we conclude, we do see organizations automating, going digital or electronic, and we do, however, see that paper is still largely used, and there are many areas and processes, as we outlined, that are using paper, and in some cases as a primary mode to conduct certain processes. So even though paper is rooted out of a process, in some cases, without a fully formed workflow solution, you can experience the same challenges with electronic documents that you do with paper. So I think it's important for all of us to understand that just moving in a digital transformative direction is not necessarily the most efficient and productive. So we're now going to send this over to Dave, and Dave is going to show a demo of DocuWare. So Dave?
All right, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you everyone for attending. So when you look at accounts payable processes and accounting process as a whole, some key areas that really are a factor are dealing with capturing data, entering data, right, into other systems, validating, and in the process for routing documents internally for approvals, right? And those are some key areas that take a lot of time and really areas where we can help out with, right, on top of the complex processes and other gaps we have in technology. So with the DocuWare solution, it is a cloud-based solution based on the Azure platform, and as such can be very readily and easily implemented in any given environment. But without spending too much time on slides, let's actually get into and take a look at the technology. So I am accessing our cloud solution right now at this moment. You'll also notice I'm logged into multiple web browsers simultaneously, just so I can show you the user interface as I log on with different users and interact with the software through various workflows that I'll be demonstrating, okay? When you look at the DocuWare solution as a whole, once again, it is web-based. Everything that I can see and do is based on my credentials, which can be local credentials. They can be Active Directory credentials as well, because we do support that level of integration. And you can also have accounts set up for contract, temp employees, et cetera. But permissions are very important. And of course, we do have full audit trails and that sort of thing. As we navigate through the solution in the web browser, the first thing I see up here in the top left, working from left to right, is my trays. And then I have searchability, list, task, et cetera. Trays are kind of like your desktop. It's a staging area for documents. So when you think about the average individual's process, if they receive a document, whether it's scanned to them, emailed to them, et cetera, what most people end up doing is they will drag to their desktop. They'll then take a look at the document, right? They may change the name of it, and then from there they'll send it on to somebody else, upload it to a file server or to some other backend, maybe accounting system, et cetera. And that's similar to what the trays are. It's a staging area for processing and handling of documents. But it's also much more, because it can be not just user specific, but also group and process specific. So you can use it to be handled or managed by multiple end users in a given process as they go through their workload and go through their documents. Okay, and beyond that, we've also got searchability. With these search options, we can actually set up customized search options based on the user or the process to really give you that easy, simplified approach. Everything that we're doing, everything that we can do, can be completely customized to the end user to make things as simple and easy as possible. And then from there, we've got lists and tasks, and we'll dig into this a little bit deeper, but this is where you really kind of get that dashboard view. So a common factor we see in many organizations these days is people spend a lot of time just looking for information and looking for documents or waiting for documents to come in, and they're checking emails and checking other systems. And we've realized that we can really get a lot of efficiency gains by bringing documents to them. And this is totally customizable, but essentially the way it works is we have key factors in the documents we focus in on, and once those factors are met, the documents are then presented to the end user so they can more focus on what's important in their day-to-day task and not spend so much time just looking for information. So as we go through this and we look at the solution, one of the starting points is, how do we get information to the system? And that's a common challenge many people have. We all have access to scanning technology, or most of us do, through copiers, desktop scanners. People may email documents to us, but they're all disparate options. And you look at how can we more simply get it into a single solution so I can then handle it appropriately, classify it, and route it on. So with our system, we support scanning from any device that has scanning capabilities. So copiers, scanners, you can print to our system, fax in. We can do bulk ingestion, so scanning in multiple documents at once, all in a single batch. We can do splitting and barcode processing and QR code processing and template recognition, and a lot of really fun things. But what I like to do, as a simple example, is just drag documents to the web interface. So I've got several invoices here, and I'm literally going to drag them in. As they come in, one thing you'll see is the documents being analyzed. So if you see the bars going up and down, this is our intelligent indexing engine at work. And this is really what differentiates our software from everybody else. With most applications, you look at classifying and capturing data, it usually involves either barcodes or setting up complex templates where essentially it depends on that document being very much static, right? Or very much standardized, where you have to teach it and configure for that given document, right? And so this is really important because our software learns as you process the document. It's all based on key fields, and you just point and click, and it remembers exactly what you did. It maps that document automatically, and we can get a lot of efficiency gains from that. As I hold my cursor over the document, you'll notice there are several fields here that are available that are all completely customizable to your process. And while we're focused on accounts payable for this demonstration, This can easily transition into other departments, HR, contracts, legal, you name it. It's a very, very, very flexible and robust system. So, but as we look at process this document, so with this US Steel invoice, this illustrates a common example we see in many organizations where this is a PO generated invoice. So we had initiated the purchase of these products with a purchase order, right? And then from there we received the products, and after we received the products, we received an invoice. And sometimes you get the invoice before, what have you. But the key point of this is we want to make sure we're validating the data to make sure that the invoice we got matches the purchase order that we submitted, and it also matches the delivery ticket that we received for the product, to make sure we had all the quantities, et cetera, et cetera. As I look to process this document, I can place it in any one of a number of file cabinets. In this case, it's going to the accounts payable file cabinet. All I have to do is hit store, and you'll notice it's already pre-populated all these fields, from the type, the name, the company name, the purchase order number, invoice number, et cetera. All the fields are populated, including the tax, the subtotal, freight and handling, and our total amount. When we're stored in the system, I'd hit store. Now also keep in mind, as we're talking about this, everything I'm showing you manually can also be done completely automatically, right? So as I go through and I process that document, so what's happening behind the scenes is we're taking that data and we're then routing it to another individual. In this case, I'm going to switch over to PegGecko. I know I don't sound like Peggy, but in this moment I'm Peggy. So I logged on as Peggy, and I can see I've got a task popped up. So let's take a look at my task, and here it shows me I've received a new invoice, and I need to actually go through and complete the process. These activities and all the prompts that you see are completely customizable, but in this case, I can see my invoice, I see all my key fields, I can see that it actually did what's called a three-way match, where it matched my purchase order, my invoice, and my delivery ticket to make sure everything's correct, right? And I've also got here my bill date, which I'm actually going to set to today's date, and I'll show you the reason why here in a minute. But then I've also got geocoding. So geocoding in many accounting departments is very, very important, especially in our solution. And so what I want to make sure that I'm putting in the appropriate geocodes for all of my line items, right? And I can tab through this, and this is very simple. So we're looking at job materials, and so I'm going to go through here and code in for job materials. These cost centers and all the descriptions you're seeing can actually come out of your accounting or your ERP system, and we can walk through and show you how if you'd like. And so here I've also got some tax. Love my taxes. Thank you very much. And here I can also use point-click indexing. So notice I'm just clicking on these key fields, right? I don't have to go through and spend a lot of time doing a lot of manual data entry. That's what really takes a lot of time. And let's face it, we as humans tend to make mistakes, right? So let's let the software do the work for us. You may also notice that the software has done the math for me. I put in the subtotal, I put in the tax, it figured out based on what was in the document, based on my total amount, what my freight and delivery was, and this total matches the total in the document. And then I hit confirm. From there, what happens is it processes that document, and it's going to go through to and it's actually creating a booking record for me. So at the end of the day, I've captured that out of my document. But what's really important is I want to be able to take that data and I want to do something with that data, right? In most cases, we're putting it into our accounting or our ERP system. So if I look at this, it's actually created the booking record for me, right, with all the line items based on my geocodes, and I can also download this in a CSV format. So I open this guy up and I expand all my cells. So now I've got all of that data captured in a very usable format. And what I really like is if I scroll over here to the right, I actually have the hyperlinks to that document. So if I wanted to, I could push this hyperlink into another system. So if anybody wanted to click on that from inside of that system, they don't have to navigate out. They don't have to leave. It can be a one-stop shop. And here is my document and all my key information. And it took me very, very little time. It's an extremely efficient process. So, and provides a lot of automation and impact. The next example we're going to go through is something we also see very commonly. This is with a company called WB Mason. This is a servicing company. They provide a lot of services for us, but in our case, they're providing office supplies. And this literally is a service provider for our office, our home office, and we get supplies from them all the time. And we have set up a rule called a quick match. So, and essentially, what we have is because this vendor is a common vendor for us and they provide a lot of services, usually it's going to be under $1,000 a month, but they're going to do the same thing again and again and again. And what happens is we have it set up so as long as it comes in, as long as we've confirmed that it's them and that their services or what they're invoicing us for is less than $1,000 based on our master record, then we're going to go ahead and approve that and go through the normal process for creating the booking record. So here we go. I have the document here. Once again, I hit store. It captured all the appropriate fields. It's going to go under system. We're going to go back to Miss Peggy. And you notice here, she's going to have a new task that pops up in just 1 second. And here's our new task with our W. Mason invoice. I've got all my fields down here. Once again, I'm going to geocode this guy. And in this case, it's supplies. Put in my cost center. Just tabbing through this. Actually, let me put in the subtotal here. Once again, just clicking in the document. It's already done the math for me. Here's my total. I'm going to set the bill date to today again. And what happens when I set that bill date to today, it's actually merging the data with that existing booking record. So when I go back here to my booking record, I'll see this automatically updates. First, we have the U.S. Steel information. Now we've got the W. Mason information, and I can download it. We can move on. So you can see the efficiency we're gaining with this. No longer am I having to enter data manually. A lot of the validation and a lot of that is taken out. So we want to get rid of as much manual data entry as possible. The third example I'm looking at is an invoice here. So this is not a common invoice that we get. This is not a PO generated invoice. In which case, what this is this is for some telephones. So someone in the organization wanted to order some telephones. I happen to know who they are, and I'm going to take this invoice, split it up, and send it to 2 different department heads. So once again, I store the invoice. It captures all the key pieces of data. But we need to put a subtotal in there, okay, and hit store. Very, very simple. Going back to Miss Peggy. She's going to have a task that pops up right here. See my new task. Very nice. It's going to say check details. And I'm going to go ahead and proceed. Notice it said 3-way match failed, but it's going to give me an option to continue. If I proceed to sign, it's going to go process and come right back to her. And from here, what's going to happen is I'm going to have the ability to take this invoice and then tell the system how much I wanted to then allocate to each individual department and department head. And here it is. Assign the invoice. Once again, all these prompts can be completely customized. So if you prefer that it says something other than assign invoice, that's not a problem at all. So here we go. These are for telephones, cost center. I'm going to take the amount. In this case, I'm going to take for Miss Elizabeth. I'm going to assign her $400. Telephones again. Notice it's done the math. I have the remaining amount here. And we're going to assign that to Mr. Peter Frank and hit confirm. And so what happens is it takes that. Now the document is going to go follow through this workflow, and the rest of it happens completely automatically. If I switch over to Mr. Peter King and Miss Elizabeth Cash, I'm logged in as them, and you'll see their tasks are up, and it's going to pop up here with a task for each one. Now it's important to note that as these tasks come into the queue, whoever gets to it first locks that document in that process. So they can't both modify it simultaneously, which is important, okay? So I'm going to go to Miss Elizabeth Cash first, click on this. She has the option to accept or reject. If she rejects, it'll loop it back and start all the way over again from the beginning. In this case, she's just going to hit accept. We'll complete it on that end. I'll go to Mr. Peter King. If we wanted to see the history, he could even see that she's already approved it, and now he's number 2 in line. He can go ahead and he can approve this, and we're done. This workflow is designed to all happen completely automatically. Now, once they've done what they needed to do, it comes back to Peggy Jenkins. It's going to show up in her task list. It's going to come in here, go back to where we were with the other invoices. We need to complete the invoice, right? We'd already geocoded it. Everything's already been done, right? Total date. I'm going to go ahead and set to today. Hit confirm. And if we go back and we look at our booking records, once again, instantly updated. Try it again. Give it a second. It'll update and it'll include that information on the same booking record as well. And whenever I want to, at any point in time, I can download that booking record and then import that into my accounting system. I can also lock this if I wanted to where it shows exported. So if any new invoices came in, it would just create a new booking record automatically and take that one out of the pool. Okay. So the last example that I want to walk through, something we commonly see as well, where I have a new vendor, it's a new relationship, and they've sent me an invoice, and it's great when I wanted to order the products from them, but they haven't gone through the right steps, right? The relationship isn't there yet. I don't have the right information. I don't have the W-9, right? In the accounting department, we have a process, and the process needs to be followed. So if I get an invoice, what happens, right? In many cases, you have this stopgap, you have a bottleneck, and don't know what to do, and we need to go through that process. So what we've done here is the invoice comes in, let's get a normal process. This is captured, we've got all the information, scanned in, store, and it's going to flow through. Go to Miss Peggy Jenkins once again, and she's going to get a task that says, wait, we need to request a W-9. So with the W-9 request, what happens here is it's going to, now I'm going to put in my email, one of my email accounts. Well, the way this is designed is I would put in the vendor's email address here, which if it's in the document, I could just click on in the interface of the document, and it's going to send them an email. So I'm going to put in my email. Okay, and I'm going to hit confirm. So if I switch over to my email, assuming I'm the vendor here, what I'm actually going to get is an email that looks just like this. It says it came from DocuWare. It's got all the pertinent information because it's a completely customizable message that happened automatically through our workflow engine, right? And you'll see I just got a new one, this one I had earlier. And so it received it, gave me the invoice number, gave me the date. If I didn't know, right, or maybe we have lots of invoices going back and forth, it shows me a copy of the invoices as well in case I had questions. And essentially it says, I need your W-9, we have some more information. And this, if I click on the link, which is a publicly available link, I don't need credentials, I don't need anything specific, right? This is something that's part of our cloud solution, and our vendors can now onboard themselves automatically. They get in here, they can put in their information. All they need to do is provide or fill in the required fields and provide the W-9, the company name, the address, city, state, etc. And once they've submitted this, the invoice that's sitting in the queue, waiting to be processed, continues on as if they had already been an onboarded vendor for years and years and years. There is no bottleneck. There's no delay. It's a very, very streamlined and simplified process. Okay? So with that being said, so what have we accomplished today? So we've walked through and showed you how you can easily scan your documents, right? And this can be scanned from a scanner, from a smartphone, really from any source, right? If you can get the document electronically, we can capture it. The format also doesn't matter. We primarily focus on PDFs, but they can be TIFFs, they can be Word files, Excel files. It doesn't matter what the format is. Everything's going to be totally keyword searchable. Speaking of searching, if we go to our search engine, we want to see any of these options, we can easily search through one of our customized menus here. Everything here is full text searchable. So if there's some piece of data needed in the invoice or that document that was not part of the field that I was capturing, they would be there. Our system also supports full type ahead, or I can hit a drop-down list, whichever I prefer. Okay, let me click back on that guy. And essentially, so as I look and I can see what invoices in the system, I can either put in, select US Steel here, or if I just start typing U, it'll show me the options available. And of course, I can filter down based on the date, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, and then of course, let me get out of that. And for our list, we talked about having lists for different documents. We have our dashboard view. We can see all of our tasks. By the way, if I have administrative rights, I can see not only my tasks for me, but also any tasks that are out there in the queue. So if I'm ever curious what's going on with a given process, I can actually see all the tasks, all my bottlenecks, so I can then really work on streamlining and running my process. But the goal of all of this is we want to save you time. The more time we can save you from these manual, repetitive processes, the more time you have back to focus on what's really important: streamlining, increasing efficiency, growing your organization, hopefully, right, and really leveraging the technology to its fullest limits. So, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to Nicole. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks, Ann and Dave. Let's wrap up the webinar. So we're almost at the 30-minute mark. So what you saw was an introduction to the invoice processing solution, but I also wanted to show you this testimonial from the case study in the handout section. This is Jenny Jessa, the accountant at the retirement community. They use DocuWare for processing their invoices. So you can see she's saying that, now they know exactly how many invoices are awaiting approval. Their COO can remotely view and compare invoices, so he has transparency now. In addition to removing all of the boxes of paper everywhere, and now they never have to call each other and waste time looking for an invoice. And with that, we'll open up for Q&A. Dave, you go to the next slide. Again, we want to hear from you. If you want to take the next step in digitizing your invoice processing, reach out to us.